Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents. And we're looking forward to a very big and important game in game week 5. Let me firstly introduce you to our Manchester United correspondent, Gary Robinson. How are you, Gary?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you, mate. And our Brighton and Hove Albion correspondent, Sam Murray's in. How are you, Sam?
I'm very good, thank you, James. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing all right. Looking forward to this one.
Good stuff. Thank you, Sam. Gary, I just said to you off camera, it feels like you're never more than one day away from a crisis or one bad result away from the crisis. Is that just territory of being Manchester United?
Well, I suppose there is a bit of that, but the way the club's, the things that they've done in the last, I don't know, 6 weeks, especially haven't helped, have they? I mean, if you win two, lose two, bit of an inconsistent start to season, that doesn't help. We've obviously had the takeover gone nowhere. You've got the Greenwood crisis. You've had the Sancho crisis. We've got the Anthony crisis. You know, there's too much going on with no real seeming leadership. And, you know, it would have probably been a big story if it had been any club, really, if all of those things had happened around the same time. So for it to happen to United, it's just part of the furniture that it becomes big news for however long it'll be big news for.
I'd like to just get straight into the Jadon Sancho thing. And we should clarify that we're pre-recording on Tuesday evening, so the situation may change by the time you hear or watch this. What's your take on that? What Ten Hag said and Sancho's response?
I can see it from both sides, really. I mean, if you're Ten Hag, you're probably looking at Sancho, who this is his third season now. We spent a lot of money on him. He's on, what's he on, 300 grand a week, 3.5 a week, maybe. He's on a lot of money. He's had, I don't know, 2 or 3 good games for us, if that. Solskjaer couldn't get a tune out of him. Ranić couldn't. Ten Hag can't. Southgate's complained about his training attitude. Borussia Dortmund did. So this isn't Ten Hag picking on someone. You know, maybe he's just end of his tether, trying to get a reaction out of him, but it hasn't gone down well. Clearly, clearly his relationship with Sancho can't withstand that, and you know, a lot of managers can get away with things like that, can't they? But Ten Hag certainly can't.
Why not?
Well, because he's not a good enough manager. He's not achieved enough, and he clearly doesn't have a good enough relationship with Sancho that he's allowed to needle him like that in the same way that other managers get away with it. So it's, you know, it's clearly not gone down well. But you know, if you're Sancho, he's maybe sat there thinking, well, been bought for a lot of money. Nobody knows how to play. Nobody knows how to use him effectively. He kind of likes passing football and 1-2s and possession football. He's playing with a lot of people who like to counter attack. And Fernandes has got a lot of qualities, but keeping the ball and being nice and tidy with it isn't a Fernandes skill set. Fernandes likes to try 10 things, and if 3 of them come off, he's happy with it. So you know you've got that. Maybe he looks at the treatment Anthony's getting, Greenwood, Rashford, all these wide players, and thinks, well, hang on, their performances, their attitude, their behaviours worse than mine, and yet Sancho doesn't get a run of games in the team. But then the flip of that is to flip it back again. Is Sancho never played well enough to get a run of games in the team? So it's just a mess all round, and I can't really see a way out of it now longer term, because presumably Sancho's not going to stay at the club. He doesn't look suited. Well, he certainly doesn't look suited to playing for this current Manchester United team. And, you know, Ten Hag clearly doesn't fancy him. So unless they find a buyer for him in January, that they can get decent money and cut the losses. But, I mean, who would pay for Sancho now? I mean, it's a long time.
Well, I was going to say, me and Sam can both think of someone. I think, Sam, any suggestions on a football club that might buy Jadon Sancho?
You tell me.
Well, I wasn't thinking of your own, mate. I was thinking of Chelsea, obviously, mate, who'd like to come for your
They'll buy
players.
everyone. They were linked
Exactly.
with him, weren't they?
He's young enough, isn't he, Gary? I think that they could buy
suppose,
Sancho.
Well, I mean, Chelsea can buy anyone, can't they? But I mean, he probably is young enough. But you know, we're at least 3 years since his last good Borussia Dortmund season, aren't we? if I'd be surprised even if Chelsea went in for him, because they must. Mind you, Pochettino. I mean, maybe Pochettino thinks he can get a tune out of him, but he doesn't look suited to it to me. But we'll have to see.
It's an awkward one to talk about a little bit, because we obviously know he was given some time off last season, and none of us know why, right? And there's no point even speculating, but it might be, it's only 6 weeks since Delhi's interview and stuff. Who knows what's going on, right? So it makes it such a tough one to talk about.
Yeah, but you would assume and you would hope that if there was something similar to that going on, that Ten Hag wouldn't have brought it up in this way, would he? And
you'd hope so.
Given that Ten Hag, he gave him, I don't know how long it was, he gave him a month off. Let's say it was quite a while, wasn't it? Gave him a month off in the middle of the season when we were struggling for players and rotation. And, if you look at the end of our season, with most of the players were dead on the knees by April. Now, look, none of that's more important than what Sancho's well-being in the middle of last season. So clearly Ten Hag's done that once, and clearly on this occasion he didn't feel that was necessary. And, if there was something similar brewing up, then he wouldn't have called him out in the press the way he has done. I wouldn't have thought, and you wouldn't expect Sancho's reaction to be. If Sancho would have come out and said, "Look, I'm going through this." He wouldn't have come out in a way saying about professionalism and all that. So I know what you mean, but it feels like on this occasion that's probably not relevant to this specific situation, even if it might have been earlier on in the year.
Sam, I mentioned Chelsea, so I might as well get the bad news for you out of the way. Moises Caicedo leaving, was it inevitable?
Yeah. I think we all knew it would happen eventually. I was hoping he wouldn't end up at Chelsea. He would have been more suited, in my opinion, to Liverpool as well. But that was a crazy few days, wasn't there, towards the end of that saga?
You're just sitting there laughing about it.
Somehow the price kept on going up and up and up, and I can imagine Bloom and Barber sitting there, relaxed as anyone, just watching it unfold. And yeah, they could have had him 6 weeks earlier for 100 million probably, and they ended up paying 115. But yeah, he is such a big miss, and he's one that, out of all the recent players that have left, he's one that I really am gutted to see leave, because he's a game changer, and we are worse off without him. But the money is what we valued him, so it's fair enough from our point of view. But yeah, Chelsea paying that much money, we couldn't say no to that really at that point.
And what price does Evan Ferguson go for next summer? 200 million? Where are we starting?
He can't leave. I can't let him leave. He's got to stay. Priceless, Evan Ferguson.
They'll come circling. Are you happy with the start? That might even sound ridiculous. Brighton have been happy with 3 wins from 4. But are you is the West Ham game lingering a bit still? Is it gone?
Yeah, it's one of those. I'm happy we ended with Newcastle going into the international break with our best performance of the season so far, that Newcastle game. Yeah, and even in the first 2 games, again, crazy, we won 4-1 in both. And we weren't at our best. I've seen us play better. The first half against Wolves was even, and then we won the game in the 10 minutes after half time. And Luton as well it took a bit of time to get going, and even in the last 10 minutes, a bit nervy once they got their goal back. So it's nice to finish off with that Newcastle win. And yeah, I think with the fixture pile up coming up, we kind of had to go strong early on. So it's nice to get the points, 3 wins from 4. Yeah, I'm happy with that for sure.
And you mentioned the fixture pile up. You must be buzzing with that Europa League draw, mate.
It was brilliant. Watching that, I was watching that with my family and people that I've seen us play when we were at Hereford, when we were rock bottom of the Football League, and we're talking about these teams before the draw, who we could play, and everyone was saying, give us Ajax, Athens, and Marseille. My flights are booked. Minibus.
Are you going to do all 3?
Yeah, I'll be at all 3.
Brilliant, mate.
All 3 games. I can't wait. I cannot wait, and it's not too long. I think it's a month, 31 days to the first away game, Marseille, which will be interesting. But
is that the first one?
That's the first away game. We've got Athens at home first, which is a big one. I think that's the one we need to get in a win from. But yeah, we wanted European football, and I think we've got it with that group. That's a proper European group. I'm so happy with it.
Yeah, no, that is amazing, and to get even the cities as well, like Athens and Amsterdam and Marseille. Be careful in Marseille would be my only word to you, mate, as well. Because there was all sorts of, I wouldn't say trouble when Tottenham went out there last year, but it's all coaching to the stadium. There's not really freedom of movement around the city and stuff as such. But what the Velodrome is, what a stadium that is, mate. You'll love it. Good luck. Gary, happy with the Champions League draw? Yeah, I mean, you actually get to see Harry Kane this year, mate?
Yeah, I mean, it's on paper, it's one that we should comfortably finish second in, I would have thought. But I've said that before in recent years about some of our groups, and we've stumbled through them and things like that. So, but yeah, you'd like to think Copenhagen and Galatasaray, you sneak 10 points out of them, and then just write the Bayern Munich games off. So yeah. Fingers crossed.
Full band of former Tottenham players. It's not just Harry Kane. It's Davinson Sanchez and Tanguy and Ndombele coming for you as well, Gary. And the Galatasaray game, every time you've had them, just brings back memories of the classic with 93, 94, was it? I want to say maybe.
Yeah, I think we was talking to someone. I think we played him in 90. Well, we definitely played 93, 94. I'm sure we played him the season after as well, because I think that's when Beckham made his debut, or certainly his European one in a dead rubber. So. Yeah, so that'll be all the talk, won't it? Welcome to hell and Cantona kicking off, and fighting against the police batons and all that stuff.
In Europa last year, I think in the group stage, it felt like you went stronger than we imagined. Like Fernandes kept playing and stuff.
Yeah.
Do we have to worry for your team at all in terms of rotation from that perspective? Like, are the main guys like Fernandes and Rashford and the first choice centre backs and Casemiro's, are they going to play Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday throughout? Do you think?
I think pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I don't think Ten Hag. I mean, we can all argue whether that squad's big enough and good enough for the money that's been spent on it, but I don't think Ten Hag trusts it anyway. He certainly didn't trust it last season, and. Is that squad any? You might argue it's better this season, given that some of the players we've bought, but it's certainly no bigger. I wouldn't have said, especially if Varane and Shaw are out until pretty much the group stages are over.
Has Varane been ruled out that long?
No, I don't know how long Varane has been ruled out for. Sorry, but even if it's another month, we might miss 2 group games. So. I don't know, but Lindelof looks like he might have picked up something as well. So
I think he's fine. Today, Gary, at the time of recording, I think he's all right.
None of them are FPL worries anyway. But yeah, I mean, we've just spoken about Sancho and Anthony and that. Who's he going to rest Rashford for? I mean, he might play Garnacho wide and play I don't know, Martial up top or Hojlund, but. Yes, he might miss 1 or 2, but I don't think so. I think we'll be pretty strong until we get through. If we get through, hopefully, then maybe there might be a chance last 2 group games. But I'd say Brighton are a lot more of a rotation worry than we are, because probably don't know if they've got a bet. They've certainly got a bigger squad, haven't they? But De Zerbi trusts his squad more than Ten Hag trusts his squad. I don't think De Zerbi would flinch if he says, "Oh, I'm not going to play Mitoma wide left today." He won't care. He'll just slot somebody else in, won't he? Whereas I don't think Ten Hag trusts his squad enough. So, no, I think if you're a Rashford or a Fernandes owner, which they're the only 2 which anyone owns, I would have thought probably not a worry until if and when we can get ourselves qualified later on.
So, in response to that, from a Brighton perspective on rotation, then this is going to kill, isn't it?
Yeah, it's. We knew it was going to happen. We know what De Zerbi's like, but in the first 4 games, they're all spaced apart quite nicely, and we still saw a fair amount of rotation in defence. Obviously, the goalkeeper's playing a even share as well, and then Welbeck and Ferguson up front. So yeah, it's going to be impossible to predict who plays which games. I think. I mentioned pre-season about how big this Europa League is for Brighton, and compared to different teams. We're going to Marseille on a Thursday night. We're gonna go strong. I'm sure. So it's those games around it that you might see some rotation. But yeah, De Zerbi trusts his squad, and he knows who to bring in for which games. And it's gonna be interesting. I'm looking forward to I look at the fixtures and it's exciting because we've got so many different attacking players, and I want to see them all play. So I'm happy to rotate a little bit, but it's going to be difficult to balance for De Zerbi.
Yeah, you know what the fantasy managers are thinking, don't you? Sell, sell, sell. I mean, you mentioned the Marseille game. When I look at I've got you bottom of my ticker next 5 weeks, which, and as we've seen over the last couple of years, actually these bigger games, it's not like you won at Old Trafford last year, you won at the Emirates last year. You are capable of winning these games. But as a collective, Manchester United away, Bournemouth at home, Villa away, Liverpool at home, Manchester City away, it's a pretty rough run of 5 games. And the Bournemouth home game is 3 days after the trip to Marseille. This is bad, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah. We
for fantasy managers, let me say.
For fantasy managers, it's going to be so difficult to predict. I don't know how many players can, if any of them can play all those games. We saw at the end of last season. We played a few. We had quite a pile up towards the end of last season with double game weeks, and we struggled in a few of those games where you try to keep the same team. So there will be rotation, and I look at that week with Marseille, Liverpool, City, Ajax. You've got some big games in there, and we're going to need to rotate, definitely.
Yeah. The flip is, after the City game in 9, what follows is Fulham at home, Everton away, Sheffield United at home, Nottingham Forest away, which might be the best collective of 4 fixtures you'll find anyone has in a long time. So what do we do here, Sam? Do we bin, come back? Do we hold? Do we suffer the rotation? And I don't even want to go into the individuals as yet here. What's your plan with what? And I know you'll have something. What's your plan?
So the only Brighton player I have right now is Estupinan, and for me, I can see why people would be moving him on, and that's fine. Which is exactly what we discussed in pre-season around this time. We knew the fixture would come in, and it's a chance to go a bit different with his ownership so high. With me, I'm in no rush to sell him in particular right now. Mitoma as well. He's our most important player. We've got options now. Of course, Ansu Fati on the left wing could cause some rotation there. So I just, with the fixtures and the rotation, it's probably better options elsewhere. And then a bit further on, you look towards game week 9. People might be wildcarding, and then we'll know a little bit more about how De Zerbi does rotate. We could try our best to pick some sort of pattern out of it in European games and Premier League. So we might have a better idea of who's nailed for the Premier League games at least.
Even with these tough games, I think you'll score goals. It's not in. You might not have great results, but you'll score goals. So certainly from the offensive stuff. And Estupinan feels more like an offensive player than a defensive player anyway. It's not like you've kept clean sheets in these games so far, and he still had obviously good returns. He feels like a rare case, Estupinan, that he'll be one of the ones that starts most often. Would that be fair? Probably him and Dunk.
Yeah. Him and Dunk, and then you've probably got Gross as well, who can play right back. Might be the backup left back, because I was quite surprised we didn't go out and sign a left back. Maybe De Zerbi sees Igor as the backup at left back, left-footed centre back. That could be an option. We've also got Gross that can play there. Milner, if we're
Milner could do it.
Desperate, but
not the same way, but he could do it.
But Estupinan is the most one of the most important players for us, and he's got such an engine as well. I was predicting to get rotated at the end of last season. It just didn't happen until the league was Europe was secured. So he's one that could play the majority of games, and we don't have a natural backup at left back. So if he gets injured, we're in a little bit of trouble, I suppose.
You mentioned Fati potentially left wing. Yeah. Is that where you expect him to play most often?
It's an interesting one, because I think left wing's his best position, and no one's going to argue that. Cutting in on his right, similar to Mitoma, direct, explosive. Mitoma is the most nailed in attack. He's our key attacker. He can't play every game, so when he does miss out, you'd expect Fati, I think, to play on the left. Maybe we see a Dingra as backup on the right a little bit more as well. Now we've seen him play a little bit on the right in the first few games, but it's just with Fati, it's a case of its versatility as well. It's like what he done with Enciso. I see him as the Enciso replacement while he's out until the end of the year. And De Zerbi might shift him around. We know he likes versatility. He gets a bit crazy with it, and he's certainly willing to mould a player to what he wants and what he needs from the team. So, yeah, I can't pin him down to one starting position in our best 11 because you'd have Mitoma on the left wing, but he'll pop up in a few different positions when he's needed.
It's not inconceivable that he'd even play Fatty on the left and give Mitoma spells on the right, even, right? It's not unthinkable. We spoke about this in pre-season as a possibility that something that could happen.
Yeah. It depends what I need to see a bit of Ansu Fati, a bit more of him, to be honest, on the left. Did you know how capable he is of playing on the right, whether that's a similar case to Mitoma or he's more comfortable playing on the right. But yeah, we've got two such exciting wingers there. It's just even if they share the games, there's not too much of a downgrade either way there.
It's not music to the ears of fantasy managers, though. Gary, what Brighton have you got at the moment?
Just Estupinan.
What's your thinking?
Probably forget about them until when you say is it game week 10 when that run starts again? I think.
Yeah, really good run from game week 10 again.
Yeah, so just completely forget about them and then get to game week 10 and pick the other two that I want and just suck it up. Because the thing with Brighton is, we can do all this guessing, go off the teams that have been picked and all that, but we've seen already this season and last season, they'll lose games that you think they're going to win and they'll win games. So there's no point trying to pick which games to target them for. That's a really horrific run of fixtures, isn't it? So get that out of the way and then just pick the two you want. And if they miss out, they miss out because you know that the week after you're probably going to make it back up anyway when they slaughter someone 4-0. So
Mitoma is he's such a painful sell as well. If you've got him in your team, it's it's one that you know what he can do against any team, like you say. So it's a difficult.
That's it, because you might miss a load of but you might miss if you miss the 18 point against Bournemouth, and then you're probably not bothered about a few ones and a blank or an auto sub. It'll be that 18 point you've missed that'll stick with you. So, and especially if you want to bring him back in for week 10. So yeah, it is a tricky one.
You intend to start him, Gary?
Pardon?
Estupinan at United. Do you intend to start him in your team in game week 5?
I think I've got him first sub at the minute, but obviously we're a long way from picking the team. But I think he's first sub as it stands. But I wouldn't I'll certainly, if Gvardiol gets injured or dropped or whatever, I certainly won't be rushing to buy another defender. I'll just let Estupinan come in as the auto sub. I'm not going to be worried about that away at Old Trafford.
Sam, you starting him?
It's pretty similar to me. I'll have him probably first on the bench, and then it's not too big of a deal if he ends up in my starting 11 for whatever reason. So I'm not.
Big ownership to bench, though, isn't there? We'd worry if this was an attacking player. We'd worry about this. It's interesting, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's like I said, Arsenal away is the best example of Estupinan just as a player. When we beat him 3-0 and he got a goal and assist and he absolutely hauled. He can do that against anyone, and he's almost an attacker. So it's difficult to bench, but it's fair enough as well, isn't it? Either way,
it does feel like at the moment though more are obviously selling than buying, Sam, at the moment. I think that's obviously because of the fixtures and obviously what you started with as well, that a lot of people started with and went with 3. I want to come back to Joao Pedro, but I want to give Gary a very simple question in terms of who to sell. If you're sitting there, Gary, with Rashford and Fernandes, which one are you binning first? Or is the answer neither?
Well, I sold Rashford before the Arsenal game, having had both. But if I was in the same dilemma now, I think I find it tough. I mean, I think Brighton are a great team, but I think we're going to probably score, aren't we? If law of averages tells you we'll probably score in the week 5. We've got Burnley in week 6 who don't look too good to me. I can't remember. You might have the fixture up, James. I can't remember. We've got in 7.
After that, it's Palace at home, Brentford at home, Sheffield United away. So perversely, Brighton, I've got bottom of my ticker for the next 5. I've got you second, Gary. Yeah,
that's it. So I think there was given how Rashford looked in the first 3, and I thought he was pretty. I didn't think he played that well on Sunday either. apart from the goal he scored, which was unbelievable finish. But I think the time here, that was an easy time to sell, wasn't it, before Arsenal? I think now, if you've come this far with them, I think, which is what we spoke about pre-season, wasn't it? And if you get this far, as good as Brighton are, you're probably stuck now, unless you're wildcarding maybe, or you're really desperate for a Son or.
Well, I was going to say, that's the change in the narratives. You're quite right. Ideally, from a fixture perspective, if you were going to bin, it was before Arsenal.
Yeah.
I quite agree. But before you went to Arsenal, Heung-min Son was holding the left-hand touchline and not looking very threatening.
No, I know, yeah.
So
but
there's a change to the story now, which, if people are sitting there with Rashford, Fernandes, and Son at home to Sheffield United.
Yeah, but see, I'm debating that because I've got the Arsenal midfield as well, so I could get to Son easily. But my thing is you probably not, because then you've got Arsenal and Liverpool straight after that, haven't you? I think, which I know Son can score in those, but you're probably not that bothered about having him for them. Versus if you could have Fernandes or Rashford against Burnley and Crystal Palace and the rest. So you're probably thinking, am I reversing it? So I'm thinking I might buy some, but only if I decide I want to captain him or something like that. If I don't, I'm probably just think, do you know what? I'll suck up one more game, and then you've got a good fixture run similar time to when Brighton starts, haven't you?
We've got Luton away in 8, Fulham at home at 9, Palace away ourselves 10.
A bit earlier then. So yeah, I mean, me personally, I'm not ruling out going to Son in 5, but it'll probably be only if I find the value of captaining him to then bin him off straight again. But I'll probably leave it because I'm probably going to captain Haaland anyway.
It's really, really interesting because it sounds like it's a bit easier for you. I don't know if you got money in the bank, have you, Gary?
Yeah, I've got 2.2 in the bank, I think, or 2 point something in the bank, and I've got Odegaard, Martinelli, and Saka, and Fernandes. So I can take my pick.
I've got Rashford at 8.9 and Son's 9.1, and I've got 0.2 in the bank.
Yeah.
And I'm not going early here. Like, it will be what it will be. But that gives you an idea of how tight it is. And Rashford's the most expensive midfielder I've got. So there's every chance I let it go. And I know that if he's going to play for the middle, I want to get him. I wouldn't be bothered about the fixtures. In the same way, I wasn't bothered about holding Rashford through the Arsenal game because he's got a good historical record against them. Yeah. And we've seen it. The goal was perfect scenario for him. And actually, although I agree he didn't play well again, one block, I think it was off Ben White, he could have walked away with 2 goals quite easily. And then suddenly you're looking at a 15-pointer and this narrative's very different. I can't shake that I'm looking at it and going, Brighton at home's rough, but it could be high scoring. And then there are fixtures afterwards. What am I doing here? Am I just chasing the points? This
is it. And obviously, you'll probably speak about Spurs a lot more in the next 2 weeks, but if Son goes back to wide left for Sheffield United at home,
I'd rather have Rashford.
And he wants Richarlison back through the middle to get his confidence up. That would hardly be the biggest shock in the world, would it? Or same against Liverpool and Arsenal. So you might change it to find out he's gone back wide left again. Now, you'll know better than anyone if that's likely. But I don't think any of us would be surprised, would we? So, if you've got this far...
please don't tell anyone that I know better than... Like, I don't. So.
Well, you certainly know better than me.
I just guess like the rest of fans, right? Rashford, obviously, we do know is back on the left. This is better for him, though, surely, isn't it?
Oh, he's absolutely hopeless up front, isn't he? He looks lost when he plays through the middle. Certainly when he starts through the middle, I think he's had some success if we're chasing a match or it's last 20 minutes, and I think he's probably had some success there. But he was dreadful against Wolves. He was awful against. I don't think he was that good against Spurs.
No, he wasn't. I mean, I said afterwards, I'm suspicious that he wasn't even fit. Yeah,
well, I still don't know if he is because his lack of movement in the Forest game, he just didn't look right, and 2 bursts to create 2 goals. But on Sunday, I mean, like you say, if that Ben White block hadn't have happened, then maybe he would have got 2. But struggling, it doesn't look right to me. I think since that Liverpool 7-0, his goals have really dropped off. I think he's got 4 in the league since then, or
Oh,
That might have been
thanks.
his.
Keep hold of him.
Yeah.
Don't flip him, James. But he's got 4 goals in 6 months at Chelsea.
Yeah, no, but you've come this far with him, so yeah. Well, I mean,
it's game week 4 of 38,
yeah.
Gary. It's not that far.
I've already sold him, so I sold him before the Arsenal game. So, and look what that did to me.
So, Sam, what do you do to deal with this pace and threat of Rashford on the left? Is it Tariq Lamptey? Is it Veltman? Is it Old Man Milner? Or is it just go, sorry, I'll play Pascal Gross there? What's De Zerbi likely to do with that, do you think?
Could be any of them. Yeah. I would go for Veltman. Everyone was a bit surprised to see Milner start game week 1, I think, weren't they? He quite likes that. Without Caicedo now, you've got Gross and Gilmour centre mid. I think Milner gives that a little bit more help in midfield if he's inverting, technically a little bit better. And De Zerbi loves to have the experience in the side as well, especially if Lallana's out and Welbeck's missing every so often. Veltman was good against Newcastle, and I think most Brighton fans would have Veltman in there at right back. He doesn't seem to like Veltman that much, though. He done this last season as well. He doesn't seem to rate Veltman, so I thought we'd go out and sign a proper right back. But we've got 4 players there who can sort of play there, and
and he'll find a 5th.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Gary, you holding on to Fernandes then? Is that? I take it that's the plan. You've come this far.
Yeah, probably. Like I say, unless I think the only thing that'll change my mind is if I get to, the deadline and think I fancy captaining Son instead of Haaland, and if at that point I'll probably keep my 3 Arsenal playing Everton and do that. But yeah, it's just same question as ever. Are we really not going to captain Haaland? But
you kind of give the inclination that you maybe regretted the change that you made there in terms of selling Rashford rather than Fernandes. Is that because of the point return at the weekend? Is it simply that?
No, I don't regret. I'm happy that I kept Fernandes over the 2. I still think Fernandes looks a bit sharper and a bit more threatening. I mean, maybe Rashford's going to kick on now, and this is the start of the season, and at that point I will regret it. But I'm certainly just glad to not be having 2 of them at the minute until we look like that we're hitting any kind of form and that. So it is what it is. If I've got it wrong, I've got it wrong.
Sam, what United have you got?
I have Bruno and Rashford as well, and I've got Luke Shaw as well, 3rd bench still. I'll be moving making an exciting international break move to another defender. Not sure who yet. Probably Newcastle.
Not Jan Paul van Hecke, no?
Not yet. No.
That was a partly serious question.
I do like Van Hecke. He is. I'm glad he's getting some games as well. He is. That left centre back. There's rotation there, isn't there? We've got Webster. We've got Van Hecke. We've got Igor. I like the look of Van Hecke though. He still has his moments where he gets caught out a little bit. He gets a bit overexcited sometimes, but physically he's great and he's really good on the ball. And yeah, the signs so far with him, I like the look of him.
The first choice. That's not a nailed question, Sam. That's is he first choice?
I can't answer that. I would start him. He'd be in my team, first choice. But
it's 4.0. That's you got to keep an eye on that. I certainly recognise that it's dodgier going with that rather than say Jared Branthwaite, who just sits 3rd on your bench and you forget about because you might block yourself off the 3 Brighton assets further down the line. I get that, but if he was going to play regular, and almost if he doesn't, I mean, if he wasn't to start, what's the chance of him actually coming off the bench during a game? Do you think?
I think he came off the bench a couple of times last season, just because Webster's he's always got some sort of knock, and sometimes he can't play 90. But we can't
that narrative. Cheers, Sam. Cheers, mate.
I have to look at the stats. I'm sure he came on as a sub once or twice towards the end last season.
I don't doubt you, mate. I'm sure you're right.
But yeah, we can't forget about Webster completely. He had a shocker against West Ham. He was really poor, and he struggles against the big forwards. It's happened to us so many times over the last few seasons. Those big physical forwards, counter attacks. He struggled a little bit, but we can't forget about him. 2 weeks ago, De Zerbi was saying about how important he is to the team, and we wouldn't want to rush him back after his injury. So he's still in the frame for sure. I don't think there is a first choice there. It was a similar last season with Colwill and Webster. Colwill, everyone, I think the transfer window built him up more than maybe he was deserving of last season. He didn't play too many games for us. He had a good game here and a poor game there. So that is a similar situation to last season. I think it'll be share of minutes until someone really nails down that spot. And even then, we've got so many fixtures. Who knows?
Brilliant. Thanks, Sam. Cheers, mate. You might as well go, mate.
But I really like Matt Hecke. I like him.
So what are you doing with Fernandes and Rashford? I'm going to assume you don't have both of them and Son.
No, I don't. The midfield is so tricky this season. Every week I'm looking at a transfer, and starting the season with Rashford, I wasn't too sure about. I had Bruno in every draft, but with Rashford, I wasn't sure. Now I've got both. Yeah, I think I haven't really looked at transferring them out, to be honest. Right now, with the minutes, with the fixtures coming up, and playing against Rashford against Veltman or Milner, whoever it is. Next weekend, so I think they'll be in my team for game week 5 and the next few weeks after that, probably.
Okay. Take it neither. You've got Onana.
No.
You both missed the opportunity to say what's his name. I see a few getting frustrated, Gary, in terms of fantasy managers. Are they right to be getting a bit itchy?
Oh, fantasy managers, yeah, definitely. I mean, he's been booked twice, hasn't he? One of them was unfair. I think there was 2 balls on the pitch when he got booked against Forest. So another refereeing classic. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you would be, wouldn't you? I mean, you're probably expecting 2 clean sheets out the 4 and probably a load of saves. But we've conceded 7. Have we conceded 7? Yeah, 7. He's been booked twice. He's kept 1 clean sheet. I don't think his save total's been that great, certainly in the 3rd and 4th week. So yeah, I think you would be.
It actually is quite an achievement over the last 3 weeks to average less than a point per game as a goalkeeper. It takes some doing when you think about it.
Yeah, I know. He's. I mean, I said pre-season it'd be a bit of teething troubles, didn't I? And no doubt there'll be a game at some point where he does something daft and everyone piles in, but it just seems absolute chaos to me. I mean, that minute I think it was the Odegaard goal, and looking around at everyone doing the calm down thing, and it's like, I think he's the most uncalm one out of the lot of them. He's good on the ball, but I don't know. There's just something about him. He just seems
he's great on the ball, Gary.
He is, but the Awani goal, I mean, his starting position's pretty good. He was very high
quite
up.
Strange.
And I thought, you're watching, you're thinking, high sweeper keeper, I'll be great. And he came back the other way and never really engaged him. And then I don't know what he didn't do anything when Awani got there either. Didn't do anything. Yeah, and obviously he had the last minute against Wolves. I don't quite know what he was thinking then. And I don't think there was any. There was nothing he could do about any of the goals on Sunday. I think that the Rice winner, second, was. I think that deflection's killed him. I don't think there's anything he can do. But,
no, I'm all right with that. I'm not convinced about him as a shot stopper. No, I said that to him pre-season.
Yeah, I mean, he's all his numbers look decent enough shot stopping wise, but he was never going to be like De Gea was at his peak shot stopping wise. And I think the hope is that everything else that he can bring will outweigh that. But there's no evidence of it at the minute, because it's fair enough he's racking up 40 passes a game, but he's not playing that sweeper keeper role like I thought he was going to do. Not yet, anyway. Like I say, he doesn't seem to transmit that much confidence throughout the rest of the back 4. Again, it's been 4 games. 6 months down the line, he might have really settled in. But yeah, it's certainly been a middling start, shall we say, if that.
I have to say, though, I think if I had him, I'd be sitting there and worrying about other things far more than that, personally.
Yeah, I mean, that's
if you're wildcarding, fine, something else. But otherwise, I mean, who's in a fortunate enough position to go, oh, yeah, Manchester United at the top of the ticker or second top for the next 5, I'll sell their goalkeeper. Like, if that's your position, you're in a great position.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. If you've got nothing else to do, or you've got 2 frees and going down to a 4.5 allows you Son or whatever, then great, go for it. But Yeah, it won't be top of my list to worry about. But I
You've
certainly
got-
won't be buying him either.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
Which I was going to say, does that make Aaron Wan-Bissaka currently with the situation the most interesting defensive asset for United if say someone was wildcarding and wanted one?
Bloody hell, that's not a question I thought I'd get asked today.
Well, he's 4.6 as opposed to
Yeah.
Dallow's 4.9. Martinez is not really a fantasy option. Lindelof, at the end of the day, unless Varane's out longer term, I mean, to be honest, Lindelof at 4.5, if Varane was out longer term, I don't hate either. I guess you could put him in that conversation. But Wan-Bissaka does look like he's become first choice at right back. Dalot actually thought, bar him and Maguire moving out the way for Rice's shot, which I still can't understand on Sunday. I actually thought Dalot played really well, Gary. So I feel like that's going to stick for a while. And therefore, if people want a bit of it and Wan-Bissaka's a rotational option, why not?
I just think
for the benefit of the audio listeners, Gary's long pause gave the answer.
you don't get anything from him attacking wise, and maybe at 4.5 you don't need it. But
did I miss that assist in game week 1 then?
Right. So what did he get last season? 5 assists. He's not talking. We kept 1 clean sheet in 4. The fixtures look good. Fair enough.
He's 100% up on attacking returns versus last season, Gary. There you go.
Yeah. So
in fact, that was his first attacking return for Manchester United since the 2020-21 season. There you go.
Right then. So yeah. So you're probably not going to get anything that side of it. But for 4.6, you maybe don't need it. But we've conceded 7 in our last 3. Brighton will probably make that, I don't know, another few. So maybe then, like you say, what is it? Burnley, Palace, Brentford. If you want to go for it, go for it. There must be better 4.6s around there. There's got to be.
That'd be my rotate it short term. He's going to play regularly. And the game's always almost dropped in a lap where you can use someone like that, as a real rotator. Yeah. You could even make the case for having 3 at that kind of price and having Chilwell and Estupinan, for example. You start putting Wan-Bissaka in. If you're wildcarding now, you could easily make a case to go something like Wan-Bissaka, Botman if he's fit for Newcastle, and Matty Cash. And you just week to week pick whichever one you want, for example. You could go down that sort of route.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, James, you stumped me there. I
don't know how often you pick Wan-Bissaka out of those 3. By the way.
Yeah, I think you just like suggesting Man United fullbacks on these things just to wind me up. But
I can't recommend Luke Shaw, can I? And poor Sam's like, I need to get rid of this guy, but I want to buy some midfielders.
Yeah, well, buy Wan-Bissaka, free up $1 million.
Yeah, Sam, had you considered Wan-Bissaka?
Well, he's due a goal now, isn't he? He's going to score against us. I can see it. I'll think about it.
Yes, if Aaron Wan-Bissaka scores on Saturday week, yes, this little segment may have just gone into correspondence folklore.
Yeah, I'll see where he is on your captain tracker on 5 and your bench dilemmas, James.
Yeah, he'd be just behind Hojlund and Heung-min Son, Gary, I should imagine. Yeah. Right, talking of players who I need to get rid of, or we need to get rid of, your Luke Shaw, I think, is my Joao Pedro, Sam. I'm never quite right in the space to cut this. And Evan Ferguson now injured, obviously after his heroics at the weekend. Must stress at the time recording it was diagnosed, I think, as a couple of weeks, or at least enough to mean that he would miss both of Ireland's internationals. It doesn't mean he's ruled out of the trip to Old Trafford. But he's probably going to start again, isn't he, Sam?
I give up trying to predict Joao Pedro starts. I just knew he was just too exciting before game week 1. I had to have him in there. I convinced myself, and I knew it'd be a problem down the line. I did think it'd be a problem as soon as game week 2. That was surprising, but he's been really good when he's played. You can tell he's got something about him. He's sharp. He's direct, and in my opinion, he works really hard. So De Zerbi's just made a point by saying he maybe needs to work harder to stay in the team. I'm not sure, but with Ferguson out now, maybe he did get a knock towards the end of the Newcastle game, but he did travel to Ireland with the squad. He was walking around fine, so hoping it's nothing too bad there. Shame for him because he'll miss some important games for Ireland, but for us it's okay if he gets a nice break. Hopefully, be all right. If Ferguson's out, you've got Welbeck as well, who's always 70% fit. Pedro could start. He could not. He's just such an annoying player. Again, annoying one to sell because he can do well. I got rid of him. I got rid of him in game week 3. I think just got him out of my team. I didn't want to look at that issue anymore because he will be an issue.
Yeah, but he's not my biggest issue in the sense of put $1 million. I'll go to Archer, put $1 million in the bank. I mean, it's kind of the sort of thing I'm looking at. And I'm also, I'd rather rework the money maybe to even go up in value, up to sort of like a Nunes or something in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So, it's the chance are he's going to sit there for me, and I don't know, he might contribute something. Would you pick him over Estupinan for this particular game week? Someone's got to have that dilemma.
Yes, that is with Pedro. I think it's worthwhile just following the news with Ferguson and Welbeck. If Ferguson, even if he is fit, De Zerbi's been so careful with Ferguson's injuries. He got an injury last season and took him a few weeks before he started, a few months even before he started playing him for 90 minutes. So I expect him to be careful with him, even if it is one of those international break injuries. And then Welbeck as well, if you hear some news on him, but I think I would go for Pedro. I would go for Pedro.
Right, that's really helped with the selling him. Thanks, Sam. You're a hero, mate. Gary, thoughts on Rasmus Hojlund and the brief cameo you saw at the weekend at the Emirates? Lively, ex-lively, very.
Yeah, he looked lively. Looked a bit like he might cause a bit of chaos, bit of a handful, and quick and strong and all the rest of it. But I mean, it was 15, 20 minutes. I think he was unlucky at one point when Rashford doesn't try and square it to him, and he had that little flick, which I'm not seeing it back really. But I think maybe if he could let that run, don't know if someone behind him could have knocked him. But yeah, it looks like it could be something there. But yeah, I wasn't. People went on about that cameo like it was, a hat trick off the bench. I think it was a bit overhyped.
Everyone of Mikhailo Mudrik's performance at Anfield in January. He generally came on. He did look like a world beater. I haven't seen nothing of it since.
Yeah, so it'd be nice to see him. Whether he'll start, I don't know if he's gone. Presumably, he's got some games for Denmark over this break. So maybe if he can get, 150 odd minutes under his belt or something, and maybe get him in the starting level, because we certainly need a centre forward.
I mean, to be honest, it felt like if you had a fixture that wasn't as big as the one you just had, that you might have started at the weekend. That was the impression I had, because Ten Hag was very bullish last week when he was speaking about him, saying, look, yeah, he's fit, he's ready to start. So I'd think he'd start against Brighton. Do you not agree with that?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, if Ten Hag was that bullish, he should have started him against Arsenal, because Martial's, that ship sailed, unfortunately. So should have started him then. There's no, Anyway, so I hopefully get some minutes under his belt for Denmark, and we can get some starts from Brighton and obviously Bayern straight after that. So yeah, it's certainly an upgrade on what we've seen on that first 20 minutes. But
I'll take it. Sofiane Amrabat is an upgrade as well. Where's he fitting in here? Is he going to sit alongside Casemiro? Is he going to free up Casemiro?
I don't know. I mean, apparently he's got a back injury anyway, so we bought another player with an injury. So I don't know how bad that is. But if I'm totally honest, I don't know if he is an upgrade. And like you say, where is he supposed to sit? And if he's going to play with Casemiro, then what did we spend 60 million on Mason Mount for? I know you need a squad and all that, but we also need to improve our starting 11 and try and impose ourselves on teams. And
Casemiro's looked though like he's needed help.
Yeah, possibly so. But that's what I'm saying. If you're gonna buy a midfielder to give Casemiro help, that's fine. But go back to my point. What was the point in spending 60 million on Mason Mount? You don't buy Mason Mount for that money. A year, he only had a year left on his contract. If you're not going to try and reshape your midfield to be, I assumed that we bought him out because we knew what we wanted to do with him, and we wanted to become a more possession-based, pressing type midfield and get him out on the half turn and get him pressing. He seems to have bought him to play. It's been 2 games, so look, he might have a plan, but I don't think Ten Hag does have a plan for Mount, which is staggering, really, given the money we spent on him. So
on that comment, is he the right manager for Manchester United?
Who, Ten Hag?
Yeah.
Probably not.
That's a big thing to say, mate.
I know
because we're just starting into year 2 of something that, let's be honest, he walked into a shambles, didn't he?
He did walk into a shambles, yeah, but you know, we're 4 games into season 2, so look, yeah, it might massively improve. But I mean, you're one for your tactics, James. What are Ten Hag's tactics? What does he want to do with a football team? We seem to buy players, and then 2 weeks later we buy a player who's, you know, the complete opposite of what the rest of the team's trying to do. I can't see where this ends with Ten Hag. I can't see us being any better than we are now. I can't see him turning us into a title contending side. I don't think he's improved our style of play. Now, fair enough, he was quite pragmatic last season, and he stamped his authority on a couple of people who might have needed it, and he eventually got rid of Maguire and things like that. But you look at, Sam's probably sick of it, but you look at someone like De Zerbi, he comes in, that team changed even on what Potter had done.
Sam's face for the audio listeners beaming.
Yeah, but and then you've got, even yourself, James, what Postecoglou walked into in terms of what Conte had left him with, and those players that you've just sold. Well, not your best ever player, but up there, and yet already you're not really bought anyone. I mean, look, James Maddison's a good player, but you're not really bought anyone, have you? But what he's done is anyone who's already there has turned them already into a completely different team. Ten Hag's a year on from Postecoglou, and we don't look any different. Our style doesn't look any different to when we had Solskjaer, to me. Now, I know we won a League Cup last season. I know we got to the cup final. I know we finished 3rd because a couple of other teams had the season off. But as a long sustainable project, there's no evidence yet that Ten Hag is the man. Now, he might turn out to be, but he's certainly not stamped his tactical authority on that team like I thought he would, and not like other managers have done.
I think there's a couple of interesting points on this that I think they all need to be said for a bit of balance. First is that I think you want to go to more of a 4-1-4-1, and that's what Mason Mount was for. But I think it probably quickly became a realization that Casemiro can't move side to side like, say, a Declan Rice can, and if was getting overrun through no fault of his own. And I think maybe you say no fault. It's not Casemiro's fault, but not Casemiro's fault.
No, but you said this realization. But we all watched Casemiro last season. We watched him come back after suspension, and his legs looked like they'd gone. He looked like he's what he is. He's a 31-year-old midfielder who has had an unbelievable career. I love Casemiro, but he's had a career playing as part of a quite tightly knit midfield 3. So this idea that you turn him into a 4-1-4-1. Well, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But you must have known that he didn't have the skill set to do that.
Little things have been noticeable that makes me think there was an idea to kind of do the Arsenal thing a little bit, where Luke Shaw against Wolves, who would have been the best profile of player to come off a fullback position into midfield for you, is obviously now injured. Wan-Bissaka was doing the job a little bit on occasion against Arsenal, and that obviously looks ugly, to be totally honest, because Wan-Bissaka's he's one of the best 1v1 fullback defenders in the world. That's his real strength. It's not on the ball, let's be honest. So I think there's a couple of things maybe gone wrong. The other things in terms of the other managers, I think your comparisons are fair, but I'll give both sides of this. I think when I look at what De Zerbi's done at Brighton and the manager you've mentioned at my club, and how quickly philosophies have been implemented in terms of style, and then refer that back to Manchester United, genuinely, I think that's quite concerning. To flip that the other way, I'm pretty sure on a longer period with Arsenal, their fans would have been saying worse things about Mikel Arteta. And that really did come through. So surely it does need so that narrative can go either way.
Yeah, it can. But I mean, the Arteta one. But look, there's probably people who watch a lot more Arsenal, but the thing with the Arteta one was that, to me, he clearly knew what he wanted to do, but he just wasn't working because he was waiting for Saka to become a great player and Martinelli, and he needed to get Odegaard in, and he needed to ship Aubameyang and Ozil and all that kind of thing. You're not what Ten Hag's doing now. Forget whether it's working or not. I don't even know what he's trying to do. There's nothing there at the minute that you would say, oh well, if only Anthony would become Saka level, then this style, this formation, this tactical imprint would work. But it's been let down at the minute because Martial can't do this, or I personally can't see what he's even trying to do. So I get what you're saying with the Arteta thing, but the Arteta thing was, this is someone who's trying something, but it's a bit early for some of the players. That isn't what's happening with Ten Hag. He isn't trying anything as far as I can see. It is keep it quite pragmatic, hope Casemiro can mop it up, and Fernandes and Rashford and pray. So that's what I would say. But I'm happy to be proven wrong, and hopefully I will be, but I certainly won't put any money on it.
Sam, when do you think Roberto De Zerbi takes a job at Old Trafford?
He won't. Surely he's got more sense than that.
But you can't turn it down, can you, Gary? No, nobody's turning that down, mate.
Someone better than us will snap him up earlier than that, I would have thought.
Yeah,
I like the fact,
City,
Sam.
I think,
I thought you were just going to ignore my comment completely.
If we can get another 2 seasons with De Zerbi, I'll be happy because he is a very, very good manager, and I'm sure whenever Pep Guardiola leaves Man City, he'll be top of the list for them and top of the list for a lot of clubs. So I won't be surprised.
You know what I think about him. I think he's absolutely, he's a worldie as managers go, Sam.
You've never mentioned that, James. You never said anything.
I know, but I have to say the obsession has somewhat calmed down with what I've been watching over the first 4 weeks of this season. But there's a fault here, isn't there, Sam? There's got to be, because West Ham and Everton, that's not coincidence now. That's twice. Why?
We struggle against those teams that sit back and are happy to counter attack, and I think it's those goals when they get the first goal, it's panic at that point because they're happy
play
to defend
like you're panicking, mate.
No, and these one-off games seem to have happened. Like we had it a little bit against Forest, but Everton, and West Ham now. And I think West Ham, I think they deserve to win. I think they had created more chances than us. And I've seen on Twitter, even David Moyes was saying, you play that game however many times and you don't even, you wouldn't win it that many. I disagree. I thought West Ham were really good, and they played against us completely how you should. Yeah, I'd like to see how he changes things now if he does. It's just on those counterattacks, those turnovers. It's the risk he takes, and I don't know if he'll change, because in those games against West Ham, we beat Luton 4-1, we beat Wolves 4-1. There'll be plenty more wins like that, but sprinkled in there, you'll have the odd game where things just go against us and they get an early goal and we concede a few.
Could every team play against you the way Everton in May and West Ham in game week 3 played against you? Is that how to play you?
That's what I would do. I'd be watching those clips.
The one thing I would say about your team versus others, and I don't know if it's down to setup or a little bit lack of quality in terms of individuals, like the mistake for Ward-Prowse's goal against West Ham, is that that against Brighton you will get a chance. So you play a lot of teams, and say like you play against City sometimes, you just feel like you're suffocated. Against Brighton you will get chances, no matter how little of the ball you have.
Yeah.
So is that therefore the right way to go for teams? Like should United go sod it, low block, let them have the ball? Is that, and then Rashford on the counter over the top? Is that not the best way for them to try and beat you?
Yeah, it's difficult at Old Trafford. United fans, if we've got all the ball in there defending like that against Brighton, it's probably a different story, isn't it? But watching that Arsenal game, United counter-attacking in that game, that did scare me a little bit. So there's a balance there with the bigger teams, but with De Zerbi, it's the risk, isn't it? With him, it's the trade off. I think he's happy to play that way, and yeah, if one game goes against him, he's happy enough to stick to his system.
Gary, if you end up going for Ange this time, I'm going for De Zerbi. I'm sorry. I know Sam's here, but we can just talk about this privately and stuff now. Guys, thank you both so much. Good luck in Europe. Good luck for the season. Good luck for the weekend ahead. Gary, correct score prediction for Saturday week, which, why is it not on the telly? But anyway, Gary, correct score prediction, please.
Oh, I don't know what we're saying, Sam. How many? I'll say 4-2 Brighton.
I knew he was going to say something wild like that. Sam?
I'll go for...
He doesn't dare say Brighton are going to win, I can tell.
No,
I mean, that's what he wants
to
say, but he doesn't dare say it out loud.
No matter how good we are, I can't predict a win away at Old Trafford. I'll go 2-2. I'll go 2-2.
Did you not win there on the opening day last year, Sam?
Yeah, but I think I predicted us to lose. So.
Did you not beat them in the last game at the Amex as well? With the
the
most wildly celebrated penalty I've ever seen, by the way. And
my favourite goal ever, I think that was.
To be honest, we probably should have touched on that. The fact you've basically, towards the end of last season, I mean, you say high scoring, Gary, those two games at the end of last season, and I don't know how, particularly the Cup semi-final, God knows how it finished 0-0. But essentially, you played, well, what are we saying here? 220 odd minutes without a goal between the two teams until that late penalty.
Yeah, that late penalty, that game was really good. A good 0-0, I thought. Even I really enjoyed that.
I enjoyed both those games.
It was a really, really good game. And that last minute penalty is one of my favourite Brighton goals ever. The celebrations then were amazing.
It's unusual, Sam, because I don't often enjoy watching your team. I've been saying for weeks that I think you'll go there and win, Sam. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to go 2-1 Brighton. But I wouldn't be surprised if you get it right on the counter, Gary, and dish out a hiding either. Like,
I wouldn't be. I mean, it wouldn't. It is one of them that could go either way, isn't it?
There's an unpredictable element about it. Certainly, the way you're both predicting it. I mean, between the two of you, predicted 10 goals, right?
So Bayern and Wan-Bissaka.
So average of 3-2 to Brighton is what we've got. I've lowered that a little bit. I'm sitting here with Mitoma and Rashford. I'm thinking, they're probably staying, aren't they? Although I'm very aware Mitoma, I think, is going to become a headache for me, Sam.
Yeah. If you're looking at your team going ahead, and if he's going to be a transfer in game week 6 or game week whenever, then if you're going to do it, get it done. There's lots of options in midfield. He's a painful one to sell, though. You just never know.
I can see him absolutely tearing Max Aaron's a new one in game week 6, and I can also see him tearing one sitting on the bench doing absolutely nothing because he's being rested. That's kind of how it feels like it's going to be with your assets. Gary, anything in
a few weeks anyway?
Yes, particularly good luck in them European games, mate. Enjoy them trips. Gary, anything you want to plug before you go?
No, thanks.
Sam?
Well, my Twitter at FPL Seagull. I'll plug that.
Good lad. Thank you both so much. I'll be back tomorrow. Ask James stream 1:30 p.m. UK time. I know that's a weird time, but it's Harry's first day at school and it's about the only hour I've got. So it's 1:30 p.m. UK time. And we've got 2 more Clash of Correspondents for you next week as well. A championship special with Matt Samuel and Aaron Lager on Southampton and Leicester, who were both absolutely flying until we confirmed what date we were going to do the podcast. They both got beat last weekend. And also later next week, we've got Newcastle and Brentford at the beginning of Newcastle's fixture swing, as well with Simon Bibby and Tom Med. Just leave me to say thank you again so much to Gary and Sam. Good luck, gents. Cue music, please. Man show.